Now I know I joke around a lot, and I try to tell you guys a lot of things on my little Instagram post.
Rest in peace, Darrell Sheets. Also, I know Darrell would want something positive out of this, so he had a guy like really tormenting him lately on cyberbullying.
For years, Darrell Sheets was the loud, unapologetic auction bidder on Storage Wars. Fans loved his explosiveness, the risky deals, and that larger-than-life personality. But behind the scenes, he had problems that ate deeply at him. From serious health problems to cyberbullying, it just felt like he could never catch a break. But it got worse in 2026, when his life took a darker turn that fans never truly understood. What exactly happened to the gambler? How badly did it affect those around him? Join us as we uncover what really happened to Darrell Sheets, the meteoric rise of the gambler.
Yes! Bam!
Oh my God.
We could be talking a mother fortune.
Holy that's a real painting. We got to get these looked up.
Chalk one up for Team Tank Top.
Darrell Sheets never really imagined that he was made for television. It is almost too hard to believe that a man with such an eccentric personality never gave the celebrity life much thought. But did he possibly have good reasons to believe that it just wasn't worth the trouble? Darrell, like most of the popular cast members on Storage Wars, became a part of the show right from its debut on December 1st, 2010. He wasted no time in introducing himself to reality television. He had the right energy, brought the vibe, and had fans in his corner. He earned the moniker The Gambler, basically because of his bidding style. When he didn't want a storage locker, it was almost as if he were unwilling to try completely. But when he wanted one, he locked in on it like a dog with a bone. This high-risk, high-reward approach immediately became a solid part of the persona that fans love to see on television. While he didn't scream a loud "yoop" like Dave Hester, he had another attribute that caught fans' attention and drew them back to him. Every time he was on set and looking to bid on a locker, fans were in for a show. Anyone starting the bids with a high offer, fans just know that if Darrell wanted it, he would never back down from it. Should anyone start with a big bid, Darrell gambles an even bigger bid. To some fans, he was just being a menace because he had too much capital to spend. However, according to the man himself, he wasn't particularly motivated to grief another bidder. His real motivation came from just the sheer happiness of searching for valuables that might have been lost to time. He enjoyed the thrill of the hunt and sharing the joy of discovery with the viewers. But what happens when a man who lived for the screens suddenly takes a step back from the spotlight? Obviously, it isn't the first time that a familiar face from a big franchise disappears without a reason. But Darrell wasn't the type of personality that would be forgotten if fans noticed his absence. Rumors swirled, and critics created different narratives about an unannounced hiatus from the show. While some claimed that he died, littering social media with RIP hashtags in his name, others claimed that he was sick. But what really happened to the gambler? The health scare that changed everything.
Right here, are you aware of that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Look at.
Oh, yeah. I took a gamble on this art locker. Hopefully, it'll paint a pretty picture. You see this? It's not a quarter. It's a game changer. You win, 600. I win, 700.
When Darrell left the show in 2019, he did so quietly. But as the rumor mills went into overdrive, churning narrative after narrative, he figured he needed to set the record straight. A few weeks into his sudden disappearance, he finally broke his silence, and the pain reverberated throughout the franchise. Darrell claimed that he had suffered a mild heart condition that forced him into hospital admittance. Well, here we go. I wasn't going to say anything, but you all have been the greatest friends and fans. I've been very sick for 3 months, and 2 nights ago, I had a mild heart attack. Found out I have congestive heart failure, and a severe issue is going on with my lungs, he explained on social media. But was it really as mild as he led fans to believe? According to popular reports, the 67-year-old's heart failure episodes were not exactly as mild as he described. In fact, they were so life-threatening that he needed an actual surgery to get him back on his feet. But it was his words against the media's. And when a celebrity comes out swinging, the media mostly lose control of the narrative. 2 years after his short hiatus from the show, he returned with a bang. The celebrity lifestyle as a Storage Wars cast member definitely required him to maintain the energy he started with. But the man has had 2 mild heart conditions. Could he possibly consider a change? Absolutely not. For Darrell, it was business as usual. He still made big bids and made it hell for everyone else to compete. While the other cast members did confess to missing his presence on set, they definitely did not miss that forceful mental push that kept everyone on their toes when Darrell wanted that locker too. The competition was high as ever, and it didn't seem like Darrell had missed a beat. But fans watched with a keen eye, almost waiting to verify if Darrell was fully back or it was just an initial flurry to keep him relevant. Fast forward a few months into his return, and critics started to notice a slight shift in the 67-year-old. The smile felt forced, the banter was thin, and the infamous gambler suddenly seemed risk-averse. While most fans could not particularly complete the puzzle, they figured something was off, but Darrell played it cool and tried to stay in the game until he couldn't. In 2023, he made the conscious choice to completely leave the show. He left like the wind. He was just gone, and fans noticed. The theories were numerous, but one stood out like a sore thumb. Some critics suggested that he probably had a relapse into another life-threatening heart condition, and others just suggested he might have just wanted to retire. It was basic, but it made sense. He was in his 60s anyway. But just when fans thought that his time in the spotlight was over, he came up with something new. Havasu, show me your junk.
Right, so one man's trash is another man's treasure, and Darrell the Gambler Sheets knows all about that. The Darrell Sheets of Storage Wars calls Lake Havasu City home and recently opened a new business there. It's called Show Me Your Junk.
It is one thing to leave a show that brought fame right to his doorstep, but completely disappearing from the spotlight is where fans drew the line. Every long-term fan of the show wanted an inkling about his next course of action. A few months after he left the show, popular reports revealed that no sooner had he left the show than he left California altogether and moved to Lake Havasu, Arizona. According to sources close to the situation, the 67-year-old wanted time away from the fast-paced life in California. Some believe the 2019 health scare really did a number on his mind and confidence more than he was really willing to let on. But aside from simply dying to leave California, insiders believe that he really wanted to spend more time with his own family. Finally, his choice made more sense. While he did make his name in California, where is better for a grandfather to spend his retirement years than far from the spotlight and closer to his children and grandchildren? Although he had finally moved on from the show, some fans just couldn't let go, but neither could the gambler. He had an insane connection with the antique world, and he wanted to remain within it. So, he set up a new antique store in Lake Havasu, Arizona, and named it Havasu, Show Me Your Junk. But of course, it was not a junk store. The wordplay was just classic and controversial, Darrell. The store had a massive collection of old trophy models, hot rods, classic American muscle cars, neon signs, and arcade games. To most fans, it felt like Darrell had finally opened a new chapter in his life where he could build real sustainability. Gone were the days of unforgiving filming schedules, competitive bidding, and the fast-paced California lifestyle, but the store soon became more than just a business venture for him. It helped Darrell stay connected to the treasure hunting lifestyle, and fans of the Storage Wars franchise could connect with him personally and away from the cameras. But more than that, he could connect with his son, Brandon, again. For context, Brandon used to appear alongside his father as a co-star on Storage Wars. He was not the main act anyway, but fans loved the way he bounced off his father. However, in 2017, the network went through a few budget cuts to keep the show running, and Brandon had to go. While it did seem like the gambler had finally reinvented himself, rumors spread about the 67-year-old hiding something. Some sources suggested that he was nursing more heart problems, so he chose to go to a place where the cameras just couldn't follow. But when other fans thought things could never get worse, the unthinkable happened in April 2026. And everything changed. The sad demise of Darrell Sheets.
Fans of Storage Wars are mourning the shocking death of Darrell Sheets. Sheets passed away in his Lake Havasu home early this morning. According to multiple media reports, officers who responded to his home say it appears he died by suicide.
On April 22nd, 2026, reality television was thrown into mourning, and it was not a good sight. The gambler was reportedly found dead at his home in Lake Havasu. Beneath the tears, the loud wails, and the painful sight of a broken family, the public wanted answers to the obvious questions. How did it happen? Was it another series of health problems? At first, the questions were left to linger, but they only planted seeds of doubt in critics, who spearheaded theories after theories about his death. But a few days into this gut-wrenching ordeal, the authorities revealed a shocking truth. Reports of the 67-year-old losing his life to health complications were wide of the mark. Instead, he had unalived himself. Maybe looks can really be deceiving. To most fans, Darrell just didn't seem like the type to unload a shot into his own temple. But the reality differed so greatly, and some fans expressed disappointment amidst their pain. The deed was indeed done, but death was not the end of his story. Unaliving himself created a new wave of problems, but fans were willing to explore it to the end. Although he had lived a low-key life up until the point when he died, did no one really notice a thing? Was he really that good at hiding his feelings in that tank top? Dusty Riach, an old star of the show, claimed that he really did notice that Darrell seemed like a man trying to put his house in order when he saw him take a $60,000 deficit on an estate collection. But it still never really occurred to him that he might have been planning to harm himself. While other parts of the Storage Wars family seemed keen on staying silent, they soon figured that it was not an option that they could explore forever. Maybe other cast members could probably get away with it, but Laura and Don Dotson were like the faces of the franchise. Laura kept the day-to-day running, and Don was the quick-talking auctioneer who led the show and received the bids. Silence was most definitely not an option they could explore forever. A few days after his demise, Laura, who appeared shaken and broken by the gambler's death, immediately launched an investigation into it. Like most fans, she was dying for answers, so she spoke to the family, and they revealed a secret the 67-year-old had been keeping away from the public for many years. He had finally found the working formula for his health, but no sooner had he reinvigorated himself than a cyberbully crept into his life. Obviously, he dealt with it as privately as he could, fighting his battles like a man. However, he was not winning. For context, the bully made posts on his social media discussing the LGBTQ communities in a bad light. But he didn't stop there. He also painted him as gay and threatened to unalive him. Although he did make a video telling the world that he was not behind his posts and debunking the rumors about him being gay or hateful of the LGBTQ community, it was not enough to stop the dangers to his life. While he lived, he revealed numerous attempts on his safety at work from communities that the bully had trolled or flamed using his social media handles. But something else stood out, like an open wound. It really wasn't the first case of self-harm in the Storage Wars family, was it? A dreadful trend.
Mark Bolello, the A&E reality TV star of the show Storage Wars, has died at the age of 40. According to TMZ, he was found yesterday inside the garage, Simi Valley, California home by one of his employees.
Remember Mark Bolello, the slick Italian collector who dazzled on Storage Wars in Season 2? While the show had often been saturated with Dave Hester's mean youp and the late Darrell's infectious energy, Mark brought a whole new vibe. Every time he appeared on the show, it seemed like an episode of The Sopranos. He was so cool that he earned the moniker Rico Suave. But beneath all the Italian mafia's swagger and cash-only policies, he had a personal life that he hid craftily away from the screens. He battled his own demons with the man in the mirror and showed a completely different side of himself every time he was on reality television. Talk about a leading double life. Suddenly, Darrell's case no longer felt like an isolated incident. He was also especially good at selling a version of himself he wanted everyone to see. However, Mark sold it so well that fans never got a chance to see beneath his perfectly curated image. But time never fails, though, does it? As the pressure mounted, his life began to unravel behind the scenes. While there had been rumors that he was mixed up in other shady businesses, there was never any real proof. Although critics mostly addressed his mafia-style suits as possible pointers to a life crime, no one was really buying that now, were they? But on February 9, 2013, things took a turn for the worse. Mark was reportedly arrested for possessing methamphetamine with the intent to use and distribute. As expected, critics who had raised red flags about his decisions to always carry cash in a man's purse and play dress-up like he was Carlo Gambino immediately had the media eating right out of their palms. Although it was just Mark who was caught in a jam with the law, all eyes were on Storage Wars too. But it gets even worse for Mark and the franchise. On February 12th, just before he was expected in court again to defend himself, his maid discovered his body in a car with the engine still running. Apparently, he kept the gas running and inhaled carbon monoxide from the car fumes, suffocating him to death. It was the first time that the show had lost a cast member to self-harm. Although the network had dropped him from the show when they discovered he had been caught in possession of a controlled substance, his affiliation with them was still there to see. While fans continue to ask questions about Darrell's death, the police continue to investigate, and they released a toxicology report in May 2026. Surprisingly, for most people, he was clean. There was no single trace of any controlled system of any kind anywhere in his system, throwing every theory of controlled substance use out of the window. But how did the Storage Wars family react to this death? The legacy of the gambler.
One up for Team Tank Top.
Gambler and Son, sir.
For long-term fans of the franchise who followed every episode, the Dave and Darrell rivalry was no news. Mostly, it was for the sake of competition, as they always wanted the same lockers, and they had a competitive edge to them. But did these fights ever extend beyond the screen? According to Dave, whatever happened between them on Storage Wars only stayed on Storage Wars. Off the screen, they were great friends, and they enjoyed each other's company so much that they had lunch now and then. Dave claimed that he did figure out that Darrell had serious health issues, but he had never in a million years seen him as the guy who would consider self-harm as a viable option. He was the type to take the biggest risks and never take the easy way out. Dave claimed that Darrell's death nudged him to talk to his son, begging him to seek help if he ever broke down mentally, because if he ever took the easy way out, it would destroy him. But Dave wasn't alone in his grief. Jared Schultz posted a silent picture holding a framed picture of Darrell in his hand, but his ex-wife felt it even deeper. According to Dave, Brandy Passante received a call on set about Darrell's demise, and it shook her senseless. But it wasn't just as simple as a co-star losing himself and choosing self-harm over other options. She believed that he could have sought help elsewhere, but it hit so close to home for her because she lost a parent and a brother to the same problem. To Brandy, he had become another reference point for people who misunderstood the effects of self-harm. You are not taking your pain away, you are transferring it to someone else. The grief from self-harm is endless. Never suffer in silence, she said. But just how bad does this reflect on Darrell's legacy? To fans who believed that he had simply transferred his pain to the people in a millionfold, rather than the illusion of ending it at the barrel of a gun, he was no longer the gambler. He was just another con man who painted a whole different image from who he really was. However, to others, he remains the top dog who took risks and never took the easy way out. Whether this polarizing view about Darrell lasts forever or changes eventually, only time will tell. Will there ever be another Darrell Sheets? Do you think he could have survived if he had talked to someone about the feelings that ate him up? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.